What's good, YouTube, man? It's your boy. I mean, y'all, flocka. Oh, flocka. You know what I mean? Y'all probably like, but what the freak is he making that sound for? You know, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I just ate some Takis. And when I mean y'all, good God almighty, duh. You know what I'm saying? You know, them Takis be catching up on me sometimes, man. You know what I'm saying? But your boy Jay, he gonna be a warrior. You know what I mean? But nah, though, man, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Jay Willie Silly. Hold on, y'all, man. Good God almighty, duh. Hey. You know what I'm saying? But no, man, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Jay Willie Silly, man, aka Mr. Take It Easy, or you end up like BZ. But make sure y'all follow my Twitch, man. Subscribe to my second channel. Everything you need to know about your boy Jay is in the description down below for all my new subscribers and new viewers. You know, Scary Reactions is my most viewed playlist section, you know, with over 40,000, if I'm correct, over 40,000 videos, you know what I'm saying? So I say this all the time, most of the time in the beginning of my videos, you know, so my new subscribers and new viewers, you know, will understand that I value them like so much, you know what I'm saying? And I'm a very organized person because I know it's people that know nothing of me and it's probably their first time ever watching me. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to have a good impression when it comes to you and let you know that I care for you, you know what I'm saying? And I want to make your life way more easier, you know what I'm saying? And I made a playlist section for you. You know, I have all my scare reactions if you want to watch it, all my cartel reactions, NBA reactions, NFL reactions. So you won't just have to scroll because, you know, I got 2.3K, you know, videos as you see, 2.4K as of right now, I think, if I'm correct. You know what I'm saying? But got a lot of videos, so you ain't gonna see a lot. You ain't gonna be able to see a lot of my content, you know what I mean, just scrolling down. So I got you, mano, imano, you know what I'm saying? My mouth feeling better too, you know. My mouth was kind of on fire, you know what I'm saying? But no, though, man, I appreciate y'all for joining the video. You know what I mean? We got 3 scary, true, snowy night horror stories. And man, for anybody that is down south, you know, I know y'all can agree that this has been the warmest winter I've ever lived through. You know what I mean? Am I tripping? You know, I walk outside sometimes and it's getting a little breezy. It's getting a little breezy, you know, now. You know what I'm saying? 50s, low 50s, you know what I mean? Dropping in the 40s, 30s or something. You know what I'm saying? It's getting a little breezy now. It's feeling like winter now, you know, but it took a little while, you know what I mean, for it to feel like winter. You know, I'm walking outside thinking it's summertime. I'm like, you know, good God almighty, dog. You know what I mean? Is it summertime? Is it June? July? Could have swore it was winter. You know? But yeah, anyways, man, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn the bell like a video. I ain't gonna talk for too long, man. It's your boy Jay. Take it easy. Boy, you know, like busy. Thumbnail time. Your boy Jay gotta get kinda, it's a little loud. Not loud.
I love the sound of falling snow. It's kind of like watching lightning or seeing a shooting star. It's just one of those unique things you have no control over that doesn't always present itself. But when it does, it's a treat. I'm not really the hiking type, but when it's snowing out, I just can't help myself. We've all got those irresistible cravings. This happened during one of those snowy nights. I live in a woodsy area.
You said we all has those irresistible cravings. You're right about that, sir. You're right about that. But like hiking, I ain't gonna lie, I remember, bro, and this was totally out of my character. I remember when I took my brown self out to the woods for no apparent reason and did a video. Y'all remember that? That was totally out of my character. I don't know what I was doing. I don't even know why I made the video. I wasn't searching for nothing. I wasn't doing anything. I think it was snowing. It wasn't snowing. I think it was snowing, bro. Was it or was it not snowing? I'm not sure. But bro, I made a video of me walking through the woods for no reason. I never done it again. I don't know what the freak I was doing. Y'all, I was just walking through the road. I wasn't off the dopey, like I always say. I wasn't off the dopey, though. I was completely sober, doing this uncharacteristic thing. I don't know what the freak got in me today. Like that day, bro. I don't know what the freak. I was just walking through the woods, y'all, recording, talking for no apparent reason.
It's not really in the woods per se, but it's close enough.
I was in the wood.
If I wanted to access an expansive, dense forest, I'd only have to drive a few minutes. I didn't have any major obligations the next day, so it was either a Friday or Saturday. Probably a Saturday, because I remember being slightly hungover from going out the previous night. It also wasn't supposed to snow that night, which I remember specifically because I have a habit of checking the weather obsessively during the winter months. I was sitting in my room reading a book when it just started snowing.
Pick your clothes up?
As if someone had just casually flipped a switch. I didn't even notice it at first, but by the time I realized what was going on, there was already a considerable amount of snow on the ground. Without thinking too much, I instantly knew what I wanted to do. Take a snow walk, so that's what I did. The spot I drove to is pretty secluded for the most part. It's a local hiking trail that usually doesn't see that much traffic.
Alright, so you want to take a snow walk during the nighttime. Okay. So now, so you just a dumb, ignorant boy. Okay.
I stepped out, admired the snowfall for a few seconds, and started walking. I didn't really have a defined plan in my mind. My only objective was to get deeper into the woods so I could more fully appreciate the snow. After about 20 minutes of walking, I was finally satisfied with how far I'd gone. But then, the literal moment I stopped to appreciate the snow, I heard something. Something that definitely didn't belong there. It was a child's voice. It took me a few moments to even process what I heard. Just as I was telling myself my mind was playing tricks on me, I heard it again. The sound of a little boy yelling, "Hi." I know that sounds pretty benign, but it was just so freaky in the moment. It was quite literally the last thing I was expecting to hear out there, all alone in those woods. The other unsettling thing about it was that I couldn't really tell where the voice had come from. It sounded like it could have come from a number of different directions, if that makes any sense. I whipped my head around, but there was no one there. I kept looking around frantically, but there was no one in sight. Just as I was about to head back to my car, I heard the voice again. It was definitely a little boy's voice, only this time, he said, "Up here, silly." Without even processing how freaky of a thing that is to say, I instinctively looked up, and there he was. There was a little boy who looked to be around 9 years old just sitting on a tree branch in a tree not too far away. It was the most bizarre thing. The boy was clearly bundled up for the cold, but how he managed to climb that tree, I had no idea. The lowest branch to the ground was at least 20 feet off the ground. Strangely, seeing him kind of calmed me down a little. It was almost like I had been afraid of not knowing where he was, as opposed to him being there. I walked over to the tree he was sitting on, keeping my eyes on him the entire time. He was smiling this really wide grin that reminded me of the expression someone who hadn't learned to smile yet would make. My sense of security started disappearing the more I looked around, though. For starters, there wasn't a single footprint around the tree he was sitting in, meaning he had climbed up there before it had started snowing, meaning he had been sitting in that tree for at least 45 minutes. And that's not even mentioning the fact that he figured out a way to climb that thing in the first place. Like I said, it would have been exceedingly difficult to do so, even if you had climbing experience. The tree was perfectly straight. He would have had to shimmy up 20 feet. He waved at me, and I didn't waste a second. I asked him how he got up there, and he told me it was a secret. Then he just went back to smiling that awful grin. I didn't know what to do. This kid clearly didn't belong out there, and I felt compelled to do something.
Ain't doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? A kid out here in the middle of the night just grinning at me? I would have said, "How did you get up there, you demonic bastard?" You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's just something about, I don't know. It's something about this that I'm not sitting right with, you know? And, you know, it's just something. And then he's just constantly grinning and all that. I don't know, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I told y'all, bro. I'm going to constantly say it over and over again. I feel like we are living amongst demons in human form. How many times have I said that? That is a strong belief of mine, and nobody can change my mind. I feel like I said, that some of these people are not real. I'm sorry. Honestly. I feel like some of these people are not real. Like my dad and mom, you know what I mean? My dad told me a story of how he was going somewhere. And basically it was a dude that needed money. You know what I'm saying? I'm never gonna forget this. A dude needed money. But he said like the dude that he gave money to like had the brightest eyes, right? You know what I mean? Like he just had the brightest eyes. So he said as he gave him money and drove off, he looked in the rearview mirror and he was gone. So could it be possible that my dad encountered an angel in human form? He said he had the brightest eyes. The brightest eyes, bro. I don't know if he said this or not, but he said it didn't look like he was like homeless. You know what I'm saying? But he was portraying to be homeless. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he said, but I remember him saying something about he had the brightest eyes, brightest blue eyes. And then when he looked in his rearview mirror, he was gone. Y'all ain't never had experience like that? Y'all seen somebody, bro, and then they just, you look back and they gone. I told y'all, man, I seen a couple. I probably be tripping. You know what I'm saying? But it's when I was smoking at the time. Man, I freaking go into the gas station. I'm pull up to the gas station. True story. I pull up to the gas station. Then they go give me a B-Wood. It's when I was smoking. This freaking couple that asked for some money. It's like they was waiting for me, bro. They asked for some money. I went back to my car and gave them some money. I ain't gonna lie. Usually, bro, the gas station I went to, y'all, nobody was in there. So I used to go in quick and get out quick. Man, right when I get out, man, I'm telling you, man, I ain't see that couple again. And I'm telling y'all, for real, I did not see that couple again. And I started looking everywhere. And in the street that we was on, I was going to my boy DJ. DJ, if you watching this, you know that them two gas stations. You know them two gas stations I'm talking about? It's that long street. If DJ watching this, he know. It's that long street. You got that gas station right there. You got the gas station across the street. Hey, gang. DJ, I'm telling you, bro. You know how the street is. Cause I'm looking everywhere, cause I did not see that couple, cuz. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't find the couple. I get in my car, start driving, looking, hoping to see him on the side of the road, but it gone, bro. Gone fast. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, I'm telling y'all, bro, and it says it in the word. Be careful who you treat like, you know what I'm saying? Because you probably encounter an angel. It says that. It is written. You know what I'm saying? I think this little boy is a demon. That's all I'm saying. I think this little boy spawned in that tree. I don't feel like he climbed that tree. I feel like that little boy spawned in that tree, and I feel like this is a demon that you are talking to right now. This is not a human. This is a demon.
What was I supposed to do? Try and climb the tree to get him down?
F that tree. I'm telling you right now. Something in my gut is telling me that boy is demonic.
Think of something to say. He stood up straight on the branch he had been sitting on and said, "Watch this." Then without warning, he leaned back and fell. He fell what must have been at least 30 feet. I screamed. There was nothing else I could do. I watched in horror as he landed directly on his back with a gruesome thud. I thought he was dead. There's no way any amount of snow could have cushioned that fall. I ran over to him, but before I could reach him, he sprung up off the ground and started running away from me.
Bro.
It was impossible.
It's a demon.
Falling from that height should have been enough to kill him. I screamed again, this time out of shock, and I watched as he ran off deeper into the woods. Even with the bright snow on the ground, it was still dark enough for him to run out of sight. I don't know what came over me. Instead of doing the rational thing and turning around, I ran after him.
What?
I don't know why. I know myself. If a situation like that were to arise again, I'd turn around 99 times out of 10. But I guess this was just that one time. That's the only explanation I can come up with. I regained my composure and started following his footprints, knowing he couldn't have gotten far. After a few seconds of running, I started to hear him laughing. Cackling is a better word, honestly.
Bro, get out of here.
It was really unsettling. It was like he was toying with me, playing a game while I was out there scared to death. His footprints passed a nearby tree, and as I was running past, I felt something latch onto my back. Before I could react, I was tumbling to the ground, and this kid was on top of me, clawing at my neck and shoulders. I started screaming and blindly grabbed at him, but he wasn't letting go. He started wailing too, and I could feel myself starting to bleed. He was tearing into my neck with his fingernails, and I thought he was going to blind me. I managed to stand back up, and with all my strength, I flung him over my shoulder. He hit the ground, immediately got up, and ran deeper into the woods, still laughing. This time I didn't chase him. If it weren't for the cuts on my neck and the blood on my hands, I might have just stood there forever. The cuts didn't feel that deep, but there was an uncomfortable amount of blood. I hadn't been wearing a scarf, so I pulled off my hat and wrapped it tightly around my neck. My hands were shaking and soaked with my own blood, and I was having a panic attack. The next 20 minutes are really fuzzy, probably because I was so terrified and I had lost so much blood. The next thing I remember is being in the back of an ambulance, and then after that, I remember talking to some police officers about what happened.
What?
I got the medical attention I needed and was asked to recount my story like 10 times. At the time, I didn't realize what was so unbelievable about it. I would only later learn that while I had been in the hospital, the police had searched the area and found nothing. What's worse, they allegedly followed my footprints and only found the one set, mine. I remember being so emotionally distraught when I found that out. I was furious at the thought that they hadn't searched the woods thoroughly, but why would they lie? By the time I was discharged from the hospital and done talking to police officers, I didn't have much energy to do anything other than sleep. I can't remember if this was the day after or 2 days after. Like I said, things got a bit fuzzy, but I eventually went back to that hiking trail.
Bro, you went back to that hiking trail? My God. You gotta be the stupidest man on the planet. After what just happened to you, you went back to the hiking trail? Like, are you dumb? Are you stupid? Clearly you're not right in the mind. Clearly. Like, what the freak? Like, what are you doing?
It had snowed considerably since then.
But you finna walk back down the trail?
It wasn't too surprising to find that my footprints had been snowed in. I searched the entire forest. It must have taken me hours.
This man went back into the forest and searched the entire forest. What the f?
But there was no sign anyone had been there. This is still one of the freakiest things that has ever happened to me or anyone I personally know.
I ain't gonna lie, I ain't never heard nothing like that. But for you to get your butt discharged from the hospital and then go back to the forest where you seen that creepy little kid at, unbelievable. Search the entire forest, that's unbelievable. Some things just better left, you know, I'm dead, bro. And just tell a story about it. Trying to go searching and all that. Crazy.
This happened over winter break my sophomore year of college. I was 19 and had the house to myself for a little under 2 weeks. During the second week, a massive snowstorm hit. The forecasts were predicting something crazy, and they definitely weren't lying. By the time I woke up that Saturday, there was already close to a foot on the ground.
Where's Breezy?
Plows couldn't keep up, and by late afternoon, the roads were basically impassable. I should mention that my neighborhood isn't your typical suburban setup. The houses are pretty spread out, and there's a lot of wooded areas between properties. It's nice in the summer, but in the winter, it can feel kind of isolated. That day, with the snow piling up and no cars on the road, it felt even more so. I was bored out of my mind by like 6 p.m. The Wi-Fi knocked out while I was sleeping, so I couldn't even pass the time by playing video games or anything. For context, my only hometown friend is this guy named Ryan, and I knew he was around because I had literally hung out with him the day before. So while I was dying of boredom in my room, I got this idea that I thought was hilarious at the time. I was gonna walk to his house and surprise him. The roads were undrivable, sure, but I figured I could make it on foot. It was only about 1.5 miles, maybe a
mile and a
little more.
half?
I'd walked further than that plenty of times. Looking back, it was a pretty stupid idea, but I was 19 and bored and thought it would be funny to just show up on his doorstep covered in snow. The first part of the walk was actually kind of nice.
Bro walked 1.5 miles. He must be out your dang mind. I think he probably be off that dopey dog. You know what I mean? I think he tweaking or something. I think he's smoking on Beezy or something. He doing something or something. You know what I mean? Walking a mile or something, you must be out your mind or something. To see a friend or something? You know what I mean? Trying to be funny or something? Man, take yourself back to the house or something.
The snow had stopped falling by then, and everything was covered in this thick white blanket. The streetlights made everything glow, and it was weirdly peaceful. I could hear my own breathing and the crunch of my boots, but that was about it. There wasn't a living thing out there. About halfway there, the route cuts through this stretch where there aren't any houses for a while. Mostly just trees on both sides of the road.
I don't look right.
Lots. During the day, it's nothing special. But that night, especially with all that snow, it felt different. That's when it really hit me how alone I was. It was a really strange feeling. I kept walking, and out of nowhere, I saw headlights up ahead. The lights were pretty far off, but they were coming from the direction I was headed. I stopped walking and watched them get closer. It was definitely a snowplow, and it was moving really slowly. But then out of nowhere, it suddenly veered hard to the right, like the driver had lost control or was trying to avoid something. I watched them cut across the road and disappear into the tree line. There was this muffled crunching sound, and then everything went quiet again. My first thought was that someone had just crashed, so I started running toward where I'd seen the lights go off the road. The snow was deep, and I couldn't move that fast. But the only thing on my mind was the thought that someone was hurt and needed help. It took me a few minutes to reach the spot. I could see where the vehicle had gone off the road, so I followed the tire tracks until I found it. The scene looked exactly as I predicted. A snowplow with its front end crumpled and smashed into a tree. Its headlights were still on and the engine was still running.
So where you at?
I ran up to the driver's side, preparing myself to have to lift someone through the snow. But when I got to the window and looked inside, there was no one there. The driver's seat was empty. I stood there for a second, not really processing what I was seeing. I thought maybe the driver had been thrown from the vehicle or something, so I looked around. The windshield wasn't shattered though, so they must have still been inside the plow. I checked the passenger side, but that seat was also empty. I ended up pulling the driver's door open in frustration, thinking maybe they had slumped down below the steering wheel, but there was no one there either. It took me a few seconds to realize that the entire plow was empty. There was quite literally nowhere else someone could have been. I remember just standing there in the snow, staring at this wrecked snowplow with its headlights still on and its engine still running, feeling like something was very, very wrong. There were no footprints leading away from the truck. Whoever had been driving the thing had just vanished. It's hard for me to describe what I felt next. I got this sudden, overwhelming sense that I needed to leave. It wasn't a thought so much as a feeling, like something in my gut was forcing me to get out of there. I trusted my gut and backed away from the plow. As I was walking back the way I had came, I heard a voice ring out from somewhere behind me. It was a man's voice, and he was yelling for help. I wanted to turn around and help. That was my goal in the first place. But every instinct I had was screaming at me to keep moving.
That's God.
I started running, and as I got further away, I heard the voice yell out one more time. It sounded much closer the second time, like impossibly close. No one could have moved that fast through such deep snow. I didn't turn around. I ran the entire rest of the way to Ryan's house. The joke was pretty much ruined at that point.
And now you walk. And now you walk the mile. You know what I mean? And now you're gonna have to walk back. So what if Ryan ain't home? What you gonna do then now? You better pray to God that Ryan home. Look at it. Look at this freaking snow. You know what I'm saying? Look at the roads. Ain't nobody driving on that. So what you gonna do? You gonna walk right back to the freaking, you gonna walk right back? What you did was completely stupid, brother.
Looked insane when his mom answered the door. I explained what happened, and Ryan's dad ended up calling the police. In the time it took the police to get out there and back amidst all that snow, Ryan and I had gone back and forth about what I'd seen probably a dozen times. He kept asking if maybe I imagined it, or if maybe the driver had walked away before I got there, but I knew for a fact that my eyes hadn't been playing tricks on me. When the police got to Ryan's house, they revealed something horrifying. Apparently they hadn't found any tire tracks on that round at all. They had searched the entire road, but there was no sign that a plow had ever even been there. The officer actually accused me of making the entire thing up, and I had to argue my case. I was practically begging them to believe me. The officer ended up just leaving, and there was nothing I could do about it. I stayed at Ryan's that night. I didn't want to walk back home in the dark, and honestly, I don't think I could have even if I wanted to. The next morning, after the plows had finally cleared the roads...
Bro, what's going on, bro? Like, bro seeing a little kid and all that, a demonic kid falling on his back 30 feet up out the air. You seeing something, and then the police showing up on the scene saying there's no sort of plow that's been crashed. Like, what's going on, gang? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, let's go back to what I'm saying. A demon was driving that plow. You know what I mean? Y'all probably laughing like, boy, that boy Jay stupid, but dead serious, man. How the freak that plow is nowhere to be seen, no marks on the snow or nothing. It disappeared. Y'all gotta understand, y'all, these are true stories. These ain't made up stories that I'll be trying to tell y'all, bro. People send these stories to him, and it's realistic. He just paints out the picture. He just basically you know what I'm saying? These are true stories that happen to people. You know what I mean? I just want to let y'all know that. I got multiple stories I got some stories of Mr. Nightmare actually showing real life, like what happened, like pictures, you know what I mean? Videos. Yeah. You know what I mean? These are real stories. So I don't want y'all to be thinking it's fake. It's real, bro. That's why in the beginning of the video, it says, sends me. Okay, I'm going to go to 1441. I'm going to show y'all, bro. You know what I mean? 1441. So where we at? 1441. I want y'all to read this. Y'all got to read this every time. In the beginning of every one of his videos. 1441. 1440. Okay. If you see this content being updated, I guess he don't have this. You know what I'm saying? But he ain't got it on this one. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, like, on multiple videos, bro. You feel me? He be having, like, if you have any stories to send me, you know what I mean? Send it at such and such email. You know what I'm saying? But heck yeah, bro. Just had to tell y'all that. It's true stories, bro.
No sign that a plow had ever even been there. The officer actually accused me of making the entire thing up, and I had to argue my case. I was practically begging them to believe me. The officer ended up just leaving, and there was nothing I could do about it. I stayed at Ryan's that night. I didn't want to walk back home in the dark, and honestly, I don't think I could have even if I wanted to. The next morning, after the plows had finally cleared the roads, Ryan's dad drove me home. I've thought about that night a lot since then, and every time I do, I come to the unfortunate conclusion that what happened to me is just one of those unexplainable things. I guess it's possible that I hallucinated the whole thing, but that terrifies me just as much.
That's crazy. That's crazy. How you hallucinate? Like, what? Was you lacking off the sleep?
I'm Sebastian, and I go by Sebi. This happened back when I was a sophomore in high school, about 7 years ago now. I went to a private school in a nearby city, which meant I had to commute on public transportation every day. Train in the morning, train in the afternoon. It sounds tedious, but honestly, I didn't mind it. Most of my friends lived in the same general area, so we'd all ride together, and it became this social thing where we'd just hang out and talk during the commute. One of the hidden benefits of private school, honestly, getting people accustomed to commuting early in life. I was a runner back then, track in the spring, cross country in the fall. During the off season, I'd catch the train right after school let out around 3, and it would be pretty empty, usually just the same group of high schoolers heading home. But during the season, practice wouldn't wrap up until after 5:30, which meant by the time I got in the train, it was packed with commuters heading back to the suburbs after work. Luckily, my two best friends Charles and James also ran track and lived on the same train line, so I wasn't completely alone during those late rides. One night after track practice, it started snowstorming the moment our train left the station. It was midwinter, so night is definitely the right term, even though it wasn't even 6 yet. And snowstorm is also the right term because it went from 0 to full-on blizzard in like 5 minutes. We found out while we were on the train that ours was the last one operating on that track. The forecast was predicting a massive storm, and they weren't letting any more trains leave the station after us. The snow only got worse. At one point, the three of us were genuinely wondering if the train was even going to make it to each of our stops, and even so, we quickly realized there was no way our parents could drive to pick us up. The roads were already a mess, so even if we made it to our respective stations, we'd have no choice but to walk home. For James and Charles, that wasn't a huge deal. They were practically next-door neighbors in a pretty lively, dense part of town. Plus, their houses weren't that far from the station. For me, though, it was different. My station was isolated. I'd have to cross a highway and then walk over a mile in this woodsy stretch to get home. I called my parents from the train and explained the situation. They told me I didn't have much of a choice. My dad told me to just suck it up, bundle up, and be careful. James and Charles got off at their stop, and I dapped them goodbye. The rest of the ride was just me and a handful of other passengers, and by the time we reached my station, I was the only one left. The doors opened and I stepped out onto the platform. It was completely empty, just me and a full blizzard. It was dark, but there was decent visibility because of the snow. Everything was white, and the light from the station reflected off of it in this pretty but eerie way. I stood there for a second, taking it in. It was a sight I had never seen before. Usually that station is bustling with cars and people, but with the snowstorm and all, it looked completely deserted. I started walking. There was no point in prolonging the inevitable. For whatever reason, I thought crossing the highway would have been more difficult, but there wasn't a single car anywhere in sight, including snowplows. I actually stopped and looked around, kind of in awe. It was beautiful in a weird way. I started thinking to myself I'd probably never experience anything like that ever again. After the highway, though, came the woods. The only other option was following the road home, but it was really windy and would have added a ton more walking.
I can't do them woods, man. I can't do them woods at night. Woods at night? Hey, look. Hey, Pop. I'm gonna just sleep on the train, all right? You know what I mean? Talking about suck it up and all that. Man, you wouldn't suck it up. You feel me? You be having a full-blown freaking meltdown. You telling me to suck it up. I gotta walk through these woods. A mile, suck it up? Man, look, Pop. I'm gonna just sleep on this train, wait till the snow go down, then I'm gonna head to the crib out. I'm finna suck it up. I ain't finna walk a mile, nothing. You know what I mean? I ain't walking in the dark. Man, my pops used to tell me how he used to have to walk from, man, you know, bro, my pops, bro, you know, one thing that we did, you know what I'm saying? We was one day, we driving through the Gump. Y'all know what the Gump is, Montgomery, Alabama. I found it kind of interesting. I ain't gonna lie, it was kind of interesting, bro, seeing where my pop grew up. You know what I'm saying? It's like I was kind of envisioning him, like just seeing everything he was saying. He like, but my boy live right here, and I live right here. You know what I'm saying? And it was just kind of cool seeing where my pops grew up at. You know what I'm saying? Basically, bro, how Montgomery is, bro. You already know. If you've been in Montgomery, bro, and nothing tear down. You know what I'm saying? Same things, bro. Like when he was like young, still there. It was just kind of interesting hearing that. My pops talking about, man, I used to walk from right here, man. Shoot, and all the way down there. Pop said that. I'm like, but I gotta understand, this man used to walk far as freak, bro. Had to be more than a mile. Like when bro be telling me the distance, like from my house all the way to, man, heck no, it's longer than that. Say he used to walk from my house all the way to, I forgot what he said, but it's somewhere over there. I don't know, but it just know it's far as freak from my house. So when bro said that, I'm like, bro, what, gang? You know, my grandma used to be tweaking. Used to make him drive the bike in the rain. You feel me? All type of junk. I was like, boy, you different, what? Lord knows I ain't walking in and you know, one thing about parents be thinking just because they did something, you got to do it. Hey, look, Pop. You know what I'm saying? You did that, G. You had to walk. You know what I mean? I ain't got to walk, gang. We got Uber now. I ain't gonna lie. I don't take Ubers. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I had to take lifts though. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, you feel me, when I ain't have a car, but I ain't never trust that Uber and that Lyft jump. You know what I mean? But I ain't have a car back then, you know what I'm saying? So I had to take that. But me and my dad used to lend me his van. I used to be in the van like it was an SRT. You know what I'm saying? But walking and all that, man, I ain't no walking. I ain't no walker, bro. You know, I don't like walking places and all. I don't like walking, bro. See.
Decided to just push through and walk through the woods. I don't know.
Like, look through this. You think I'm trying to walk through this? Ain't no way in heck you think I'm finna walk through this, bro. I will sleep on the highway, bro. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. I'm not walking through this, guy. I can't walk through this, bro. Like, I just can't, bro. I know, like, I know if I was in that situation, I'm gonna walk through it. Like, y'all, I'm not gonna really sleep on the highway. Like, I know, bro, gotta get home, G. You feel me? So, if I gotta run through the mother effer, I gotta run through the mother. But I'm going. I ain't finna sleep. It's just being funny, joking. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm gonna have to walk through this mother effer. You know what I mean? But it's gonna be straight running.
How long I'd been walking, but I happened to glance up after looking down at my feet for a while. And the moment I did, I had to hold back a yell. About 30 yards ahead of me, there was someone standing there, a man. He was facing me directly.
Yeah.
It's like he knew the exact path I had to take. At first, my brain couldn't process what I was seeing.
Well, yeah.
He wasn't dressed
there you go.
at all. He was wearing a short.
This motherfucker right here is in shorts. This man dang near naked in a blizzard. Heck no.
Almost like he knew the exact.
He right there, y'all. He right there.
At first, my brain couldn't process what I was seeing because he wasn't dressed for the weather at all. He was wearing a short-sleeved shirt and shorts in the middle of a blizzard, and to make things worse, his face was twisted in this deranged smile. I didn't move. I just stood there watching him, waiting to see what he was going to do. My mind was racing, trying to come up with some explanation, but the shock of the situation was too much for me to handle. I couldn't think or move, and in one abrupt motion, he went from smiling and standing still to screaming and charging at me. It was literal horror unfolding right in front of me. I snapped out of my haze and began running as fast as I could back the way I came, screaming for help even though I knew no one was out there. I couldn't move that fast with all the snow, and I felt him closing the gap with every second that passed. The chase felt like it lasted forever. It was probably 5 minutes, but it felt like an hour. I finally broke out of the woods and hit the road, and only then did I turn around. He was gone, and that didn't make me feel much better though. I felt physically sick. I followed the road home, and the whole time I kept thinking about my footprints, about how they were quite literally the only tracks in the snow. If that guy wanted to follow me home, it would have been the easiest thing in the world. When I finally got to my house, my parents were relieved. That is, until I told them what had happened in the woods. My dad wanted to go out and look for the guy, but my mom wouldn't let him. Several hours went by without incident. Eventually, my parents went to sleep. I pretended like everything was fine, but I was still freaking out internally. I couldn't get the image of his deranged smile out of my head. And the way he had been screaming was just so unnatural. And the more I thought about it, the more insane the whole thing felt. He had literally been wearing short sleeves. How had he not frozen to death out there? I was making myself crazy, so I forced myself to stop thinking about it and just go to sleep. But of course, I couldn't fall asleep. It was like I was in that 30-second shock after waking up from a nightmare, only instead of 30 seconds, it was several hours. That's the best way I can describe how I was feeling. At one point, I heard a tree branch rattle my bedroom window, which startled me out of bed. I went over to the window to see if I could dislodge it somehow. I pulled back the curtain and literally dropped to the floor, yelling. It was him, that guy from earlier. He was right there, inches from my window, only now I could see him clearly. His skin was purple, like he was freezing to death, and he was bald with this patchy gray beard. My dad burst into the room and just barely saw that guy through the window before he took off. My dad went to go run out in the snow, but my mom stopped him and convinced him to call the police instead, which he did. With all the snow on the grounds, it took the police forever to get to our house. By the time they did, that guy was long gone. My dad didn't care though. The police could have easily tracked his footprints in the snow, which is what I was expecting them to do. But once the officers realized the tracks led into the woods behind our house, they told us they couldn't just go tramping through the woods in the middle of the night. My dad got furious. He got in one of the officers' faces and almost made it physical. In the end, the officers literally left without doing a thing. Nothing ever came of it. The police never bothered to follow up, and I never saw that man again. For all I know, he froze to death somewhere behind my house. But for weeks after that, I was terrified to be in my own home. I still have absolutely no idea how to explain what happened.
Ah, man, that junk is crazy. You know what I mean? You feel me? You don't think I messed with the woods before? Definitely don't mess with the woods now. You know what I'm saying? I know I scared a lot of y'all tonight. You know what I'm saying? But nah, though, man. Hey, you know your boy Jay always gonna drop them bangers, man. Shout out to Mr. Knight, man, for coming out with them bangers. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate everybody, man, for joining the video. It's gonna be the last video for the night. I'm low-key hungry. You know what I'm saying? But your boy Jay will be back live on Twitch tomorrow. So make sure y'all stay tuned to your boy. It's your boy Jay, man. Take it easy. Or you end up like BZ. Boy Jay out, man. Yeah.